Hello, today I'll be talking about the game Orleans or Orléans, however you want to pronounce it. I think Orléans is more of the proper French pronunciation, and Orleans, like New Orleans or something, is how we say it here in the US. But anyway, I'm going to be talking about this game. This is the deluxe edition. I think it came out in 2015. I believe there's various versions of this. TMG, the company that made this one, is out of business, I think, as far as I'm aware. But I think this game is still available in some version or another from some publishers. But anyway, I'm going to be talking about this one that I got in 2015. So let's get started with how to set up. Alright, first each player gets a player board that looks like this. The players will choose a color and they'll get a follower's bag in their chosen color. So in this case, for this player, I'm going to choose blue. Each player starts with 5 coins. My version came with these metal coins. I think it also had cardboard token coins, but I'll be using these metal coins. Anyway, each player starts with 5 coins. 7 cubes in their color. 1 merchant token in their color. 10 trading stations in their player color. And 1 set of 4 followers in their player color. You'll see that's got the blue down here at the bottom, so that's the followers for the blue player. You got a farmer, boatman, craftsman, and trader. You take the followers and put them on this section of your board called the market. You can place your coins and trading stations and cubes and merchant token just nearby your board for the time being. Next, you'll place the game board in the center of the play area. Then you have this separate board, the beneficial deeds board, and you'll want to place that somewhere near the large board in the center of the play area. Next, you'll take these technology tokens and place them on this space on the board. Next, you'll take these hourglass tiles. You'll find one that has like a lighter, kind of light blue color on the top. Set that aside. You'll go ahead and shuffle up the rest of these hourglass tiles. After you've shuffled them, you'll place them on this space of the game board that shows the hourglass. And then you take the light blue one that you set aside. It says pilgrimage, and you'll set that on top of the stack. Each player will take the 7 cubes in their color and put one on the first space of each character track on the board, like so, and then one on the first space of the development track. I'm setting up for a 3-player game, so I've got blue, green, and red with their markers on the first space of each track. Then you take all the neutral character tiles and put them on their spaces here on the board that they go. So these are the monks. They all these will go on this space of the board. So you'll place your neutral farmers here, neutral craftsmen here, neutral traders here, neutral boatmen here, your neutral knights here, and your neutral scholars here. You notice the difference in these and like the ones the players got. The players, like I mentioned, they have a color on the bottom of the ones they begin with. None of these neutral ones have a player color on the bottom like that. You'll place your coins somewhere nearby. We've got denominations of 1s, 5s, and 10s. Next, you'll take these 13 citizens tiles and place them in the spaces on the game board and beneficial deeds boards that show that they should contain one. So I'll go ahead and get that done, and come back. After you've got all those citizens placed on the appropriate spots on the board, you should have one left over. You just set that aside, and that will be used at the end of the game when you start scoring. Next, you take these place tiles. They have Roman numeral 1, and some have Roman numeral 2. So you make 2 stacks, one with the Roman numeral 1s, one with the Roman numeral 2, and just set them somewhere near the board. Next, you take your goods tiles. You got grain, cheese, wine, wool, and brocade. Now, I will mention in this version that I have, it did come with these wood tokens to replace a lot of these. Like, these are the cheese and the wine, and these are for the technology tiles, and these replace the citizens, and these replace the brocade. So there's a lot of these wood tokens that replace a lot of these cardboard tokens, but I prefer actually to play with these cardboard tokens. They're just a little easier to deal with and look a little better, I think, than these wood tokens. But I just wanted to mention in this version it does come with those. Alright, so next we'll flip these all face down, shuffle them up, and then draw one at a time and place them face up on these spaces here along these roadways and rivers. On these spaces you can see that will contain the tokens. In a 4-player game you'll place one on each space. In a 3-player game you won't put any that have the space number 4 on them, and in a 2-player game you wouldn't put any on the ones that have a space 4 or a space 3. So, but we're setting up for a 3-player game, so we'll cover all the spaces except for the ones that have a 4. So I'll shuffle all these up and randomly place those tokens off camera. Alright, I think I got a goods tile placed face up on all of those spaces, except for the ones with a 4 on them for 4 players. Alright, so then with the rest of your goods tiles, you'll sort them and place them face up on the spaces of the board that show where they go. So like the cheese will go there. Your remaining grain tokens, wine tokens, wool, and brocade go on those appropriate spaces of the board. The players place their merchant tokens here in Orléans. And I will mention when you're playing a 4-player game, you use all the tokens. But if you're playing in a 3-player game, you'll remove 2 of each farmer, boatman, craftsman, and trader. And you'll remove 3 monks, scholars, and knights. And before placing your goods tokens, you will have removed 6 random goods from the game and then used the rest of them. And in a 2-player game, you remove some additional tokens and goods tokens. But I've got set up, the ones I have here are appropriate for a 3-player game. And here's some leftover character tokens that I removed for the 3-player game. There's a start player, which goes that starts with the youngest player according to the rules. I'm just going to have the start player be my blue player, and with that we are set up and ready to play. Alright, how do we play? Well, the game was played over 18 rounds, and those are determined by flipping over these hourglass tile. Each one is a round. And then during each round there are 7 phases. The first phase is the hourglass phase, and that's where the start player will take the top hourglass token, flip it over, and determine what the current event is, basically. Most of the events are resolved in phase 6, which we'll talk about later, but this one, pilgrimage, that takes effect, from phase one, and basically it just means that you can't recruit. You can see it's got an X through the monk there. You can't recruit monks this round. So when you get a pilgrimage, that's just saying you can't recruit monks this round. Most of the other events will take place, or will be resolved in phase 6. But anyway, phase 1 is flip over the hourglass tile and see what event is revealed. The first event of every game is always going to be the pilgrimage, so no monks can be recruited during this round. All right, phase 2 is called the census phase, and what happens in that phase is whoever's marker is further ahead on this farmer track will receive 1 coin from the supply, and whoever's marker is furthest back on the farmer track here will have to pay 1 coin to the supply. Now, if there's ever a tie who's furthest ahead, then they won't receive. Neither player will receive a coin. If there's a tie for who's furthest behind, then neither of the tied players has to pay a coin. Of course, in the first round of the game, everybody's tied on space 1, so nobody will receive or pay a coin. So that's phase 2, the census phase. All right, next, phase 3 is the followers phase. And in that phase, you will draw character tiles that you've collected and used out of your bag. And the number that you can draw is dependent on where you are along this night track. So you'll see at the beginning of the game, you could draw 4 tiles out of your bag. But as you advance up this track, and we'll talk about how that happens, you can, if you get here, you can draw 5 tiles out, 6, 7, and if you get all the way up here, you can draw 8 tiles out. When you draw the tiles out, you put them on your market area down here on your board, and of course, you can never draw more tiles that are going to fill up more spaces than you have here on your market track. So, for example, if you had left some of your followers here on your market from the previous round, and then you're going to draw in the followers phase, say you're allowed to draw 6 character tiles out of the bag. Well, you've only got 4 spaces available, so you could only draw 4. But in the first round of the game, of course, nobody has any followers in their bag, so nobody will draw anything out on the followers phase in the first round of the game. Starting in round 2, you'll have character tiles in your bag that you can draw out. The next phase is the planning phase, and that's where you'll use the character tiles in your market to place on the spaces on your board. These are called places: the castle, the farmhouse, the scriptorium, the monastery, town hall, village, university. You will place these character tiles. You'll see their spaces for them. Like, for instance, here takes 1 boatman and 1 craftsman to activate the farmhouse. Here you have to have 1 farmer, 1 boatman, and 1 craftsman in order to activate the village, and so forth. So in the planning phase, you will use your character tiles here in the market to place on spaces you want to activate. You won't activate them during the planning phase. You'll do that later in the actions phase. But during the planning phase, you'll place them on the board. And all players can do that simultaneously, as well as the previous phase where you're drawing the tiles out of your bag, the followers phase. All players can do that simultaneously as well. So, for example, if maybe this player wanted to activate the village, they would take their tokens and place them there. That would leave them with this guy. So if there's not another space that they can, you have to be able to have all the spaces filled at a place in order to activate it in the action phase. So if you're not able to do that with what you have left over, you can just leave it in the market, or you can place one at a place, and even though you don't have all the spaces filled and won't be able to activate it during this round, you can leave that there, so during the next round you only have to fill 2 of the spaces. So it's up to you. You can leave it in the market, or you can place it on a place that you won't be able to activate because you don't have it completely filled, but you can activate it in a future round when you fill the remaining spaces. And that leaves you more space in your market for drawing tiles during the followers phase in the next round. Alright, the next phase, phase 5, is the action phase, and that's where players will carry out or resolve the actions that they planned in the previous phase. Now this is done in turn order, so starting with the start player, they'll resolve one of the actions on their board, and then proceeding clockwise. The next player will resolve an action, then the next player, then back to the first player. If they have further actions that they want to resolve, they can do that. So it'll continue like that. Once you don't have any actions or don't want to do any more actions, so even if you had all the spaces filled on a place, if you decide you don't want to activate that action this turn, you can just leave your character tiles there and not activate it and pass. But once you pass, you can't take any more actions this round. So if this player passed and it went back to the red player and they took an action, and then the green player took an action and it came back to the blue player, even if they had an action they could take because they've passed, they can't take any more actions. So the action phase continues like that until all players have passed. Now, of course, early in the game, when you just have a few character tiles, you're not going to have maybe 1 or 2 actions that you can do. But as you gain more character tiles throughout the game, you'll be able to take multiple actions. After everyone's finished completing all their actions, after everybody's passed, you go on to phase 6, which is the event phase, where you'll resolve the current event. Of course, as I said, if it's a pilgrimage, there's no event to resolve. That one is just resolved during the whole round, where basically during the action phase you can't recruit any monks. But otherwise, you'll resolve whatever the event that is. And I'll go over what the events are here in a little bit. The events other than pilgrimage. So you'll resolve that in phase 6. And finally in phase 7, you pass the start player marker to your left, and you start a new round with the start player turning over a new hourglass tile. Alright, let's go back to the actions phase and talk about the possible actions that you can do on your board. Alright, so if a player had placed a craftsman and a boatman here at the farmhouse, when they resolve that action, they take those 2 character tiles off the action they're resolving, they put them into their bag, and then they resolve the farmhouse, which lets them take 1 farmer from the farmer track. They put that into their bag, and then they get to advance their marker 1 space along the farmer's track there. And I advanced 2, should have only advanced 1. There, advance 1 space, and then they get the goods shown there. So that's a grain, so this player would get to collect 1 grain and put that in their play area. So you'll see by taking that action, I've advanced along that track, which you remember in the census phase, whoever's further along on this track gets a coin, and whoever's further back on this track has to pay a coin, as well as it gave me an extra farmer tile, which is now in my bag, that can be drawn out when we're doing that part of that phase of the game. And it got us a grain, which are going to be worth points at the end of the game when we're scoring. Alright, if a player had tokens here on the village, a craftsman, a boatman, and a farmer, and they resolve that action, they would of course take those tiles off, put them into their bag, and then they have a choice of taking either a boatman or a craftsman or a merchant from the board. So if you take a boatman, you take it, put it into your bag, and advance on the boat track here, and you'll see when you go to this space you collect 2 coins. When you go to this space you'll get 3 coins, 4 coins, 5 coins. If you're the first person to get to this space, you collect that citizen and put it in your play area, and that'll be worth points at the end of the game, which we'll talk about when we get to scoring. But it does give you another boatman to use that you'll be able to draw out of your bag for doing actions and get you coins. If you choose instead to take a craftsman, you'll take one of the craftsman character tiles and put it into your bag. You'll advance along the craftsman track here. You'll see that lets you take one technology tile, so you get to take one of these technology tiles, put it in your play area. Then during the next planning phase, when you're placing your character tiles on action spaces, you can place one of these, and it basically takes up a character tile space, and it permanently stays there. Now, the first time you place one, you have to place it on a farmer space, so you could place it here, and then that space is permanently filled. So in the future, if you wanted to take the village action, you would only have to place a character tile on the boatman or the craftsman, or if you maybe placed it here on the castle action, then that's permanently there, and so now you, in the future, you only have to put a boatman and a trader. Now, as I said, the first technology tile that you get has to replace a farmer, but when you advance further up this track, you can get more. The other ones, the subsequent ones after the first one, can be placed to replace any character. Now, you can't have more than one technology token at one place. So like I couldn't, if I got another one, I couldn't put it here and cover two spaces for this one place. You can only have one technology tile at each place. Also, technology tiles cannot take the place of a monk on this player board. There aren't any monk spaces, but there are other places that you can get, and we'll talk about that later, that may have a monk space. You can't replace one of those with a technology tile. Alright, if you decide to take a trader from this space, you would take a trader token, put it into your bag, and advance along the trader track, and then that allows you, you'll see the first space you advance to has the Roman numeral 1, so you can pick up this stack of place tiles and look through it and choose any one place that you want to add, and that gives you another, you put it in your play area, and that gives you another place you can put character tiles to take actions on. So for instance, this one has a monk, so as I just mentioned, if you take a technology tile, you can't place it on a monk space, so you couldn't put one here. But going forward, if you take this place tile, because you advanced along this space, then you have this place that you can now place a monk to gain 2 coins. You see, as you move up now, it has the Roman numeral 2 going forward. So when you move to one of those spaces, then you can choose from the number 2 stack or the number 1 stack. So you can look through them. You don't just draw off the top. You can pick up the stack and look through and choose which place you want and put it in your play area. Alright, next we have the university. If a player put a farmer, craftsman, and a trader at the university, then they get to take a scholar here from the scholar and put that in the bag, of course, along with the tiles that they played. So you would put those in the bag as well as the scholar that you just received, and then you move your marker up one space along this track, and it shows you a number of development points you get. So the first time you move here, you see you get 2 development points. This is the development track at the bottom. So if you got 2 points, you would move up 2 spaces on the development track. Of course, the next time you move up, you get to move up 3 spaces on the development track. And you'll see you get different benefits from that, like the first person that gets here gets to take that citizen. And again, as I mentioned, citizens are worth points at the end. This is your development level where these stars are, and those come into play with scoring at the end. We'll talk about when we talk about scoring. And as you can see, some of these spaces will give you coins, again move you up higher on the development track, let you get another citizen, and so forth. So that's the benefit of you moving up. Besides getting a scholar that you can play on some of these spaces, it allows you to move up on the development track, which will give you scoring benefits at the end. All right, another place we have is the castle. If a player places a farmer, boatman, and trader at the castle, then they'll pick up those tokens, place them into their follower's bag, and that allows them to get a knight from the castle. So they would come here, they would get to take a knight, put that in their bag, and move up here along this castle track. And as I mentioned earlier, that determines the amount of tiles you get to pull out of your bag when you're doing that phase of the game. And of course, the first person to get here gets that citizen. And having a knight in your bag, of course, allows you to take some of these other actions when you have that on your on your market spaces during the planning phase. All right, another space we'll see here is the monastery. You need a scholar and a trader there. If you do that, the benefit is you get to take a monk from the monastery. So you just take the monk, put it into your bag. There's no track or anything you move up with that, but the benefit of the monk is, besides being able to place it on a place that you may get that requires a monk, it's also really just it's a wild, basically a wild. So you can use the monk to replace any other character on any of these other action spaces when you draw it. All right, let's take a look at the ship space. If you place a farmer, a boatman, and a knight on the ship space, that allows you to move your merchant marker on this section of the board along one of the waterways to an adjacent town. So if you're here, you could move either to this town or this town. And if you, when moving to an adjacent town, if there is a goods tile between them, you get to take one of, like here, if you moved from here to this town, you would take this one. If you moved from this town to this town, because there's two, you just get to choose one to take. You don't get to take them both. So when you're using the ship, you can only move from one town to the other along the waterways. If you use the wagon space with a farmer, a trader, and a knight, then you can move along the roadways, which are the brown spaces, and it's the same thing. You move from one town to the next town, and if there's a good tile in between them, you can take it. If there's two, like in this case, you can only take one of them. And as I mentioned, the benefit of the goods tiles is they give you victory points at the end, and we'll talk about that when we talk about scoring. All right, next we'll talk about the guild hall space with a farmer, a craftsman, and a knight. That allows you to build a guild hall in the town that your merchant is currently in. So if your merchant was here and you took the guild hall action, you could build a town hall there. A trading station there. And there can only ever be one trading station in a town. So if another player has already built a trading station in a town, then you can't build one there. The only exception to that is Orléans, the starting space. Each player can build a trading station there. But in all the other towns, the trading stations are only one trading station can be built there. So if another player already has one, again, you can't build one there. The trading stations will come into play for scoring at the end of the game. They'll be worth victory points, and we'll talk about that when we get to scoring. All right, only a couple more to talk about the scriptorium. If you place a knight and a scholar there, you get to move up one space on the development track. That's pretty much all there is to do at the scriptorium. All right, the last space to talk about here on the player boards is the town hall, and you can see by the colors indicated there, you can place any characters there. Now, I will say a caveat to that is players are not allowed to place their starting followers there. So the followers that have your color on them, like these, you cannot place on the town hall. It has to be the neutral followers that you'll gain later in the game. But what that allows you to do is you can place one or two there. You don't have to place both, one or two. But if you place them there, so let me just get a couple on there for example. Say during the planning phase I'd place a craftsman and a boatman here. When I'm in the action phase, when I'm resolving my town hall action, you place these on the beneficial deeds board. You can place them on any of the spaces matching the type of character they are. So for instance here I could place this craftsman and I would get to take 2 coins. And for instance here I could place this boatman on any space that requires a boatman, like maybe I place it here, and I would get to take 2 coins. Now you'll see each of these beneficial deeds has a number of tiles that it takes to complete that beneficial deed. So for each tile you place there, you get to take the number of coins shown, or in this case you can take, when you place a tile here on the canalization, you can take either a coin or gain a space on the development track. But if you are the last person to place the tile that completes a beneficial deed, not only do you get the coin, that's shown in that space, you also get to take the citizen that's shown there. Now when placing characters on the beneficial deeds card or board, you cannot use a monk as a wild on here. So if you place a monk in the town hall, it has to go on a monk space. You can't use it to replace any other character type like you can on your player board. And again, you can't use your starting followers that have your color on them. Those can't be placed on your town hall, so they can't be placed on the beneficial deeds board. And that pretty much covers all the action spaces on the player board. Remember, you can get additional places that give you additional actions from moving up along this track. And I'm not going to go over every one of these tiles, but for instance this one, the pharmacy, you'll see it has a coin and a 3 times, so you can pay 1 coin up to 3 times, so up to 3 coins, and for each coin you pay you get to move up 1 on the development track. And you can place, it shows all the colors of tokens there, so you can place any character here in order to take that action. So all these other places that you can get by moving up along the trader track there have different actions you can take, and again I'm not going to cover all of those. I will go ahead and quickly go over some of the other events that can show up. We talked about pilgrimage already, that you're not allowed to recruit monks when that shows up. The other ones, as I mentioned, only resolve during phase 6 of the game, which is right after you've taken your actions. After the actions phase, you go to phase 6 and resolve whatever event is there. So we'll look at this one, the harvest. So when resolving this, each player must be able to pay either 1 grain, 1 cheese, or 1 wine from their supply. If you don't have a grain or a cheese or a wine, then you have to pay 5 coins. If you don't have either one of those, then you have to go through what's called torture. So torture happens whenever you have to pay something and you can't pay it, then you have to undergo torture. So for every coin you can't pay, you have to pay with something else. So you can either pay with a trading station that's already been built, or one from your supply. But if you pay from your supply, then you no longer have it to build with. You can replace coins that you can't pay with random followers from your bag. You would draw from your bag, drawing out followers to pay with. Now, if you draw one that's one of your starting that have your color, you can't pay with that. You have to put it back and draw another one until you get one that doesn't have one of your starting colors. You can pay with development points by moving your marker backward on the development track. You can pay with other goods that you have in your player area. You can pay with a place tile by if you've taken a place tile and have it in your play area, you can remove it from the game in order to pay with that. Or if you have a technology tile in your play area or on your board, you can pay with that. Anything you pay with is removed from the game. It can't be used again except for development points. If you pay with those, you can gain those back by moving up on the development track. So for every coin you can't pay, you have to pay with one of those or a combination of those things from the list. So if you owed 5 coins and you didn't have 5 coins to pay with, you could draw one random character from your bag to pay for one of them. You could move down 2 on the development track for pay for another 2 of them. You could remove one trading station to pay for the 4th one, and you could discard one good to pay for the 5th one. So that's what happens. That's what's called torture. If you can't pay some coins that you owe, you have to pay with something else from the list of things I've just mentioned. Okay, so that's the harvest event. Let's see what another one you might get is the plague event. When resolving the plague event, all players must draw a random character tile from their bag and discard it. Now those don't go out of the game, they just go back on the board from where they came. If you get lucky and draw one of your starting followers with your color on it, then you just get to put that back in your bag and you don't end up losing a character tile that turn. Alright, another event you might get is Trading Day. That's actually a beneficial event. For every trading station that you've built, you receive 1 coin. Okay, another event that might come up is taxes. That one's another kind of negative one. For every 3 goods tiles that you own, and this is all the players that are resolving these events, for every 3 goods tiles that you own, you have to pay 1 coin. Again, if you don't have the coins to pay, you have to go through the torture. And let's see, the final possible event you might get is the income event. That one's beneficial. This one you receive a number of coins equal to your development status, so that depends on where you are on this track. So if you're behind this first star that says 2, your development status is 1, so you would just get 1 coin. If you're past the 2 but before the 3, you would get 2 coins. If you're past the 3 but before the 4, you would get 3 coins, and so forth, depending on where your marker is along the development track. Alright, and finally we'll talk about how you win the game. So after the last hourglass tile is flipped, which will be the 18th one, and you finish that round in which that hourglass tile was flipped, then you'll go to scoring. First thing that happens when you get to scoring is you see which player has the most trading stations on the board. Whichever one has the most gets to take this spare citizen tile and place that in their play area. If there's a tie for the most trading stations, then no player gets that extra citizen tile. Alright, then you proceed with adding up your scores. Each coin that you have is worth 1 victory point. Each brocade tile that you have is worth 5 victory points. Each wool tile that you have is worth 4 victory points. Each wine good that you have is worth 3 victory points. Each cheese good that you have is worth 2 victory points. Each grain that you have is worth 1 victory point. Now this is that you have in your play area that you've taken off of this board or earned from over here. And then finally, each citizen tile that you have in your play area, and for every trading station you've built, you get a number of points for each of those equal to your development status. So if your development status was 4, if you were between the 4 and 5, then for each citizen tile you have, that would be worth 4 points each, and for each trading station that you've built would be worth 4 points each. You total all of that, all your goods, trading stations, and so forth, and the player with the highest score is the winner. If there's a tie, then the player who's furthest ahead on the development track wins, and if that's still a tie, then the tied players share the victory. So that's how you play. I think I'll get everything set back up how it was right after we did setup, and we'll go through some example turns. Alright, going through some example turns. I think I've got everybody's board and everything set back to how it was right after setup. So our blue player here is our start player, so the first thing they'll do is reveal the first hourglass tile, which we know is the pilgrimage, so that just means we can't recruit monks from the monastery this round. Alright, next phase is the census phase. We would see who's furthest along here on this track. The furthest would get a coin, furthest behind would get pay a coin, but nobody, since it's the first round of the game, we're all tied, so nobody gets a coin or nobody pays a coin. Alright, next phase 3 is the followers phase, where we would draw tiles from our bag, depending on where we are here on this track. But since it's the first round of the game, nobody has any followers in their bag, so nobody's going to draw anything. Alright, so now we move on to phase 4, the followers phase. This is where players will, the planning phase. So this is where players will decide what actions they want to take with the character tiles they have here in the market. And of course, all players can do this simultaneously. So let's see. We'll just say that the blue player, they think they want to get another farmer, so they're going to put a boatman there and a craftsman there. And there's not really any action that they can do with a farmer and a trader that's going to get them anything. They could go ahead and put them on spaces for use in the future, but I think they're just going to leave them right there. So I think that's all they're going to do in their planning phase. We'll say the green player wants to get at somebody from the village, so they're going to put a farmer, a boatman, and a craftsman on the village. That leaves them their trader, which they can't use right now. But we'll just to show how this works, we'll say they're going to put this trader over here on the university. Now, because they're not going to have all the spaces on that place filled, they won't be able to take an action there, but they can leave that guy for future rounds. Now we'll look at the red player. Maybe he wants to get a knight, so maybe he's going to put a farmer, a boatman, and a trader on the knight. That leaves his craftsman, and he'll just leave it in the market for now. So everybody's completed their planning phase, so now we go on to the action phase. So that takes place in turn order. So starting with the blue player, since they're first, they'll complete one action. So they are going to do their farmhouse action, so they'll remove their boatman and craftsman from the farmhouse place. They will put those in their bag. That allows them to get one farmer from the farmhouse thing there, and that allows them to move up one on the track, and they get a grain. So from this area they get to take a grain, and they put that farmer that they got in their bag. Okay, now we move on to the red player. Alright, the red player is going to do their action. They're going to do a castle action, so they take the 3 characters they used, put them in their bag, and now they resolve that action, which lets them get a knight over here from the castle. Oops. And they get to move up 1. So when they're drawing tiles from the bag, they can draw up to 5 now. And they'll take this knight and put it in their bag. Alright, now we come to the green player. They're going to do their action, so they'll take their characters and put them in the bag. And now they get to choose to either get a boatman or a craftsman or a trader. And I don't know, we'll say they want to get a trader. So they're going to take a trader. they get to put it in their bag. They get to move up 1 on this track, and the Roman numeral 1 is there, so they get to look and find one of these places to put in their play area. And we'll just say green chose this one. The windmill, if they put 2 craftsmen there, they get 2 coins and they get to move up 1 on the development space. Now we come back to the blue player. They don't have any other actions they can do, so they pass. So now we go back to the red player. They don't have any other actions they can do, so they're going to pass. And we come back to the green player. They have no actions they can do. They do have a trader here on this university space, but they can't take the action because it's not. They still need a farmer and a craftsman there. So they're going to pass 2. So now all the players have passed. We would go on to phase 6. There's no event really to resolve in phase 6 because our event was the pilgrimage, which just meant we can't recruit monks. So now we go to the next phase 7, where we pass the start player token clockwise over to the red player, and now we'll start the next round. Alright, so the red player will flip over the next hourglass. We'll see what event we're going to get. Trading day. That's probably not going to be, I mean, when you resolve that in the phase 6, for every trading station that a player has built, they get a coin, but I don't know if we're going to get any built this round. But they know maybe that's a priority for them to try to build a trading station since they'll get a coin for it. Okay, but that's the first phase. Now we go to phase 2, census phase. The furthest along on this farmer track is blue, so he gets to receive a coin. So that goes into his play area. It's a tie for who's furthest behind, so neither one has to pay a coin. Alright, we now move to the followers phase, where players will get to draw character tiles out of their bag. The blue and the green player only get to draw out 4. But we know blue, he's only going to have 3 in his bag just because he spent 2 and he gained 1, so he draws all 3 out, puts them in his market. Okay. The green player also only gets to draw up to 4 out, so they draw theirs. They drew 4. That's all they had in their bag, so they will put those on their market. And the red player could draw 5 if they had 5 in their bag, but I know that they don't, so let me just try to, alright, so they have 4 in their bag, so they're going to draw all 4 of them. Okay, if they had another one in there they could draw it, but yeah, they don't. Okay, that's the followers phase. Now we go on to the planning phase, where the players will place their character tokens on places to determine what actions they want to take. And this is done simultaneously. Well, since the red player knows that he will gain a coin from that trading day event if he builds a trading station, he is going to do that. Remember, that's the guild hall space, so he's going to play a knight, a craftsman, and a farmer on the guild hall space. That leaves him a trader and a boatman, which there's not really anything he could do. Of course, he could put those on the town hall and put them on the beneficial deeds boards, but then he'll lose the, well, no, he couldn't put either one of those because they've got his red color on them, so you can't place those on the town hall. So I think he's just going to leave those there. He's not going to, he could put them on spaces for future, but I think right now he's just going to leave them there. The green player would like to build a trading station as well, but they didn't get a knight, so they can't do the guild hall action. Remember, they left their trader here on the university last time, so I think they're going to go ahead and put their farmer and craftsman here so they can do that university action. That leaves them a trader and a boatman, kind of like what the red player was left with, which there's not really anything they can do with that right now. But we'll just say they're going to go ahead and put them up here on the castle. they can't complete and use that action because they don't have a farmer, but next round they can, if they draw out a farmer. Well, the blue player, they can't do a guild hall action either because they don't have a knight. So, I don't know, maybe they're going to do a village action this time. So they'll put a farmer, a boatman, and a craftsman on the village. That leaves him a farmer and a trader, which they can't really do anything with right now, but they'll go ahead and put them over here on the university, so they've got those for next round. Alright, that's going to complete everybody's planning phase. Now we do the action phase, starting with the start player, which is red right now. So they're going to do... Now you can do your... If you have multiple actions you can take, you can do them in any order you want. But they're going to start with their guild hall action. That's really the only one they can take this round anyway. But in the future rounds, when you get more tokens, you can take more than one action. So they'll put these in their bag. They get to build a guild hall where their merchant is, which is in Orléans. So they'll place that there. Remember, that's the only town where more than one, I said guild hall, trading station, where more than one trading station can be built. So they'll build that there. Alright, now we go on to the green player. It's their turn. Alright, they did the university, so they get to get a scholar, so they'll place these in their bag. They take a scholar, and they get to put that in their bag. And then they get to move up one here on this track, which lets them get 2 development points, so they'll move up 2 on that track. Okay, move on to the blue player. They did the village action, so they will put those tokens in their bag, and then they choose whether they want to get a boatman, craftsman, or trader. Well, to say they decide they're going to get a boatman, since we haven't seen that yet. So they take a boatman, put it in their bag. Oh, this is not going well. Alright, and then they get to move up on this track, which allows them to get 2 coins. I'm just going to put 3 back and get a 5. Okay, now we would go back to red. Red doesn't have any actions that they can take, so they're going to pass. Green has no actions they can take. They did put a trader and boatman up here, but they still need a farmer before they could take that action, so they'll just have to pass as well. And finally we come back to blue, and they will have to pass as well. They need a craftsman before they could take that action, so they don't have another action they can take, so they're going to pass as well. And now we move on to resolving the event, which is the trading day. So for every trading station that a player has, they receive a coin. Red is the only player with a trading station, so they will receive 1 coin. And now we go to phase 7, which is past the start player marker. We'll go through one more round now. Alright, the green player is the start player, so they reveal an hourglass tile. Oh, it's another trading day. Well, I guess maybe I didn't shuffle that up too good, but anyway, that's the way it works sometimes. Alright, so that's going to be the event for this round. Now we go to the census phase, so whoever's further along on this track gets a coin, so that's the blue player, so they'll get a coin. Still a tie for last place, so nobody will have to pay a coin. Alright, move on to the followers phase, where you'll draw character tiles out of your bag. The blue and green can draw up to 4 character tiles out. The red player can draw 5, so, well, people will do this simultaneously, but alright, so the green player can draw 4, so let's see. 1, 2, 3. They can draw 1 more. I think that's all they have in their bag is 1 more, but let's see. Yeah, they've just got 1 more in their bag. And that is a farmer. Okay. Blue can draw 4 out. That's all they had in their bag anyway, so we will put those on their board. And red could draw 5 out if they had them. But they've only got 3 in their bag. So they will draw those. Okay. And now we move on to the planning phase. Again, that's simultaneous. So the green player, they want to get a knight, so they're going to put their farmer up there. They've already got a boatman and a trader there, so let's see what they can do with their other tiles here. Well, maybe they want to get a monk, so they'll put their scholar and this trader up here at the monastery. That'll let them get a monk. That leaves them this craftsman, which nothing they can really do with just that, so they're going to leave it in their market. The blue player, they need this craftsman so they can do this university action. That leaves them a farmer and 2 boatmen, which not much they could do with that right now. Since we have that other trading day, they wish they could build a guild hall, but they didn't get a knight. So maybe they're going to put a farmer and a boatman here, so maybe next round they can get a knight. And just to show something different, we'll put this boatman here in the town hall. Alright, well, the red player would like to build another trading station, but they can't because they haven't moved out of Orléans. They can't build another trading station in there, so they have to move first, but they can move along the road. So they're going to place their knight, their trader, and their farmer up there in the wagon space. That leaves them a boatman and a craftsman, which they can use that on the farmhouse. So everybody, I think, has finished their planning, so we go on to the action round, or action phase. Alright, green's the start player, so they take their action phase first. So we'll just say they're going to resolve their monastery, so they take their scholar and their trader, put it in their bag, and that allows them to get a monk. So they'll take that monk and put it in their bag, and that's all that space does. Now we move on clockwise to the blue player. So they did the university, so they take their trader, their craftsman, and their farmer, place them in their bag. That allows them to get a scholar, which they'll take, place in their bag, maybe, and then they get to move up on the development, or on the scholar track there, which lets them move up 2 on the development track. I'm just knocking everything off here. Alright, now we move on to the red player. We'll say they're going to do their farmhouse action first, so they'll take those 2 characters, put them in their bag. That allows them to get a farmer, which they will put in their bag. And that allows them to move up 1 here, and that lets them get a grain. And they will put that in their play area. Alright, now we go back to the green player. It's their turn, so they did a action here on the castle space, so they'll take their 3 tokens, put them in their bag. That allows them to pick up 1 knight, which they'll put in their bag, and that lets them move up 1 to where now they can draw 5 characters out in the followers phase. Alright, we come back to the blue player. They don't have enough, they don't have a trader there, so they can't do their castle action, but they did put a boatman here on the town hall, so they get to take that and put that on the beneficial deeds board somewhere where a boatman is, so maybe they want to go here, and then they get 2 coins for that. So I'll just put 3 back and get a 5, and that's going to be their action. So now we go back to the red player. Alright, red player is going to take their wagon action. I'll put those character tiles in their bag. They get to move their merchant 1 space along the road to another town, so they'll come over here, and because they went over this brocade, they get to take that. Remember that brocades are worth 5 points at the end of the game. Alright, that's their action. Come back to the green player. They don't have any other actions they can do. They're going to have to pass. Come back to the blue player. They have no other actions that they can do. They will have to pass, and we'll come back to the red player. They have no other actions that they can do, so they will have to pass. So that's going to end the action phase. We now go to phase 6, the event phase, trading day. So the players get 1 coin for every trading station they have. Red player is the only one with a trading station, so they'll get 1 coin. And now we pass the start player to the blue player, and we'd start with another round by flipping over the event tile. But that's it. That's all the rounds I'm going to do. I think you can get a good idea of how the game works. I'm going to wrap it up. I hadn't played I got this game in 2015. Played it, I think, a couple times. I think the last time I played it was 2018, and I just saw it sitting on my shelf the other day, and I said, I need to get that out and do a video on it. So I played it. I enjoy it. I don't know why I haven't played it since 2018, but I'd like to get it out and play it again with somebody else besides myself, so hopefully I can do that soon. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.